Hello everyone. Namaste, Namaskar, Namaskara from Namma Bengaluru to our.elomelo.adda. So a couple of days back, I had uploaded a video about my experience that happened at Lal Bagh, and I had uploaded it more from a push from my heart, wherein I thought I needed to tell that story. What am I saying? Needed to tell that story. But honestly, I thought it will hardly get any views because again, I was monologuing. It got a lot of views. And that today gives me the courage to come and tell you about another life experience that I had. And by the way, there are about 60% viewers who are watching the videos but have not subscribed. Elomelo.adda at such a young age definitely needs that subscription from you. The subscribe button is right next to the title. Just go and click on it. And if you want, there is a bell icon right beside it to set a reminder so that you get to know whenever there is an upload from Elomelo.adda. This is a story that I'm telling of around 1973 or 1974, when I was hardly 6 or 7 years old. So my father, I think I had mentioned earlier, was a tea planter, and he worked in the gardens of Assam and Kachar, which is near the Bangladesh border. Now in those days, there weren't very many good schools around these tea gardens or the small towns that were around these tea gardens. So most of us children who of tea planters either went to Darjeeling, St. Paul's or Loreto, or some went to Calcutta, like schools like La Martiniere or Loreto, and most of us, especially of tea planters in Assam, went to Shillong. So there was St. Edmunds for the boys, then there was St. Peter's, there was Loreto for the girls, and there was Pine Mount. So I was admitted to Pine Mount. Now, whatever be the reason, I was a very homesick child. I missed my parents very badly, and in those days I was extremely frail and timid and quiet and generally lived within myself. I didn't have too many friends also, and I really got bullied in school. So some of the girls, like there was a girl, I remember her name was Bornali, and she had an elder sister. So Bornali used to kind of come and eat my tux, my Horlicks, my Ovaltine, my biscuits, and if ever I tried to kind of say anything, she would just kind of push me and say that I'll complain against you, and I was very afraid to speak against her. Then there was this bunch of girls, Aprajita Kakoti, I still remember the name. Then there was Pallavi Barua, I think was the surname, and then there was Devjani Chanda. So these were all the girls, and if ever I tried to go and mix with them, become friends with them, they would give me absolute disdainful looks or just ignore as if I didn't exist. And therefore I was my own friend, and we had a visitors room. So this is actually the visitors room that we had. So there was some steps behind the visitors room, and I used to mostly sit there reading my Enid Blytons or probably letters that came from my mother or something or the other. But I was lonely, I was very alone. And because of all of this, I didn't do my study. My marks were pathetic. I mean, it was a riot of red. The only subject which probably I passed and did decently well was maths. I just didn't want to study at all. And this was, I think, in class 2, and we were having our first lessons of history. And one of the chapters was about Egypt. And our history teacher, and I can't remember her name very clearly, because I can't remember, let's call her Miss Lindo. So Miss Lindo, she was a very tall woman, very strict. She gave us a homework that we had to draw the Pyramid of Giza. So I drew a stick diagram, a very clear triangle, that too not with a ruler, with a pencil straight like this. And I submitted my homework to Miss Lindo. Her name was Miss Nuta, not Lindo, Miss Nuta. So I submitted that to Miss Nuta. Now she took them, and the next day she came to class. She gave back our notebooks, and then she said, each one of you stand up and say how much you got. I think from what I understand from my friends who are teachers, such an act from a teacher in today's education system will probably her getting terminated, but in those days sab chalta tha. So each of the girls were standing up and reading their marks, 8, 9, 6, 7, whatever, and I had got a 0, a perfect 0. I mean, for a triangle, that too not drawn with a ruler, what more could you expect? When my chance came to say how much I got, I stood up and I said 1. I guess I was too ashamed of my 0, and I thought maybe that 1 was more respectable than 0. So I said 1. Now just beside me, my desk mate was a girl called Zahira Khatun. So she stood up and she said, Miss, she hasn't got 1, she's got 0. So Miss Nuta asked me to come forward with my notebook, and obviously it was a 0. So right in front of the class, she of course reprimanded me a lot, and then she gave me a punishment, which was writing 500 lines that I will not lie, I will not lie, I will not lie, I will not lie. I had to write that 500 times and give that to her in the next 2 or 3 days. We finished our classes, went and had our tea, and I went back behind the visitors room on my favorite steps, and I started writing my lines. I was slow, and mostly my eyes were getting blinded by tears. Just imagine a girl 6 or 7 years old, without any friends, far away from her parents, with a harsh punishment like that. I mean, the world was coming to an end for me. So as I was writing, I think it was the first day or probably the second day, I don't remember. Suddenly I saw Bornali come to where I was sitting and writing, and she said, how many lines have you written? So I said, I don't know, maybe 100, 150 lines. You'll never finish that in 2 days. I said, I'll try my best. So she opened her bag, took out a notebook and started writing. I'll not tell a lie, I'll not tell a lie. She started writing. Bornali, who had terrorized me on food and so many other things, started writing. And Aparajita and Pallavi, I think, were passing by. She said, come here. And she was like a hefty girl. I mean, even the other girls in the class were afraid of her. Come here. So these girls came and she said, Ruby has hardly finished 100, 150 lines. We need to help her. And these girls who were harassing me, all of them took out notebooks from their bags and they started writing lines for me. Now, all 4 of us had different handwritings. At that point in time, we were not even thinking about it. It almost like became almost viral in the school to write the lines. In the next 1.5 days, they helped me finish that 500 lines. Before time, I went and gave Miss Nuta my lines. I'm sure she noticed that it had multiple handwritings, but she said nothing. She accepted it and told me that, don't do such a thing in the future. Another very interesting thing happened. The girls in my class started boycotting Zahira. They would just not talk to her. But when I think about it, Zahira had not done anything wrong. Yeah, what should I say? She kind of gave away a classmate. But then the classmate was lying, right? And that was the last day in school in Pine Mount that I did not have friends. These girls who were shunning me, completely shunning me, and were making my life miserable became my best friends. So much so that in 75 or 76, when my father got transferred to Calcutta and I came with him, this Bornali, Opurajita, Devjani, Pallavi, all of them were standing there and crying and telling my mother, "Auntie, why are you taking Ruby? Why doesn't she stay back?" Have I been able to decipher why Bornali did what she did? But that was probably human nature. When they realized that, I needed help, that human psychology to inherently come and help somebody who is in deep trouble. And that day, they had come together, and all of them had come together to save me. So I had gone to Shillong last year around January. It was the winter vacation. These places generally have 3 months of winter vacation. So the school was closed, but I had told the guard that, I'm an ex-student and all, and he allowed me. So I went there. Nothing had changed in the school. The red tin roof, the whitewash, the visitors room, the same visitors room, the same dining hall and all. And I was standing there, and then I suddenly remembered this incident. 50 years and maybe more, but for those few minutes, it was just a few 6 or 7-year-old girls in their blue uniform. I don't know where Aparajita, Devjani, Pallavi, Barnali, any one of them are. They are lost in time. But for those moments, they were there, I was there, I could see myself sitting there on the steps. Such, I think, is human life, and such, I think, is human experience. In the comment box, do let me know if you have such experience or something that has touched your life. And best is if you can make a small video with that story and give it to me. We will share it in Hello.